Hello students, welcome to the online classes of Human Resource Management. In this video, we are going to discuss about employee turnover. This is Dr. Vineet Mathur, Associate Professor, Institute of Management Studies, SBJS Rampuria Jain College, Bikaner. Let us discuss about employee turnover and what are the different factors those can increase or reduce the employee turnover. Employee turnover. Let us firstly we must define the what is exactly employee turnover. Employee turnover means the percentage of employee who leave an organization during a certain period of time, or in a very simple manner you can understand that employee turnover means the employee are leaving to the organization or they are resigning from organization. This is a very simple meaning of turnover. Exactly, employee turnover means there may be a chance of resignations from the organization or dismissals from the organization from company's side, or sometimes non-certifications. That means not converting temporary or probationary officers into permanent jobs. They will also referred as turnover, or retirement from the organization. These are part of employee turnover, and sometimes normally we don't include promotions and transfers. Excuse me, we don't include promotions and transfers as a part of turnovers. Turnover means employee is leaving the company by any manner, that will be counted as turnover. And turnover rate means a ratio between total resignations or total left employee from the organization divided by the average number of employees during that particular period. The reason behind turnover uh, are very different. That may be some kind of retirement or sometimes dissatisfying employee resigning from the company. We are going to discuss about various factors those can lead to for the employee turnover. But few reasons may consist like termination, retirement, death, or interagency transfers and resignations. Those are the turnover. Employee turnover rate calculation. To calculate the monthly employee turnover rate, we need three numbers. The first one is active employees at the beginning of month and the active employees at the end of month. And one important thing, the number of employees who left our organization during this month. Here we are calculating for the month. This can be calculated for any period, and you need just employee at the starting of that period and at the end of that period. It may be a month or it may be a year or it may be some quarter. That means 3 months. So You can calculate the average number of employee during this duration by adding a, that means employee at the starting of the month and employee at the end of the month, and dividing them by 2. That means we are calculating average number of employee during that particular duration. And now we are going to divide the total separations during this period with average number of employee and multiplied by 100. That will be employee turnover rate in the percentage. Importantly, more turnover percentage is not considered for the companies. That means that company is not a favorable company or not a good company for the employees. That's why employees are leaving that company, employees are resigning from that company, and employees are changing job from that company. But still it depends on the industry to industry. Few industries are having high percentage of turnover and few industries are having low employee turnover. And also it depends on the job type. Sometimes very tough job or sometimes very boring job are having high turnover percentage. And also depends on the company size. If organization is too large, then there is a common practice resigning and joining. Few persons are joining and few persons are retiring, few persons are resigning. This is a common thing. So for large organizations, high turnover is a common thing. But yes, high turnover, employee turnover is not a good practice for the organization, and it depends on the reason also. There are various factors that can affect the employee turnover, and especially it depends on industry to industry. For example, restaurant industry is having a high turnover ratio in comparison to insurance sector. But yes, in comparison to other industries like automobile industry or software industry, insurance sector is having high turnover ratio. It may be because of target pressure, and it is difficult to sell insurance in the market. So turnover ratio is high in the restaurant industry in comparison to insurance, whereas high in insurance sector in comparison to, you can say, IT sector or automobile sector. And there are two similar kind of terminologies like turnover and the attrition. In the both cases, employee is separated from the organization and employment relationship ends. In the both cases, in case of turnover and in case of attrition. But attrition is generally refers to the end of employment due to retirement or job elimination or employee's death. And the importantly, in case of employee turnover, mostly employees are replaced by the new employee. But in case of attrition, normally position is not filled by a new employee. That means you can say in the turnover we are including the resignation, the retirement, or death, and dismissals, all the things. But in case of attrition, we are including only job elimination, employee death, and the retirement, and in case of attrition, the job is not filled by the or replaced by a new person, but in case of employee turnover, that particular job is filled by the another employee or new employee. There are two different kind of turnover. You can say voluntary turnover or involuntary turnover. In case of involuntary turnover, that means it was against employees, you can say the wish. That means employee was not in favor of turnover or resignation or termination, but company was in favor of this kind of termination. There may be a chance that employee is not good performer और absenteeism is there, high absence हैं उसकी, or maybe some types violation of some rules and regulation of the company. In this case, employer can terminate the employee, or employer can fire or discharge from his job. So this is involuntary termination against the wish of, against the desire of employee. Layoff could also be considered as involuntary termination, uh, but there are certain different kind of procedures for the layoff. And voluntary employee turnover means when employee is leaving the job with his or her desire. That means employee is leaving the company. There may be a chance he or she is joining some another company, or he is not satisfied with the current job, or there may be a chance of that he want to shift from one area to another area. There may be some personal reasons also. Sometimes people resign from the company because of their health issues. So when an employee voluntarily terminates the employment relationship, in that case they can resign from the company, or they can verbally inform the company. That will be counted as voluntary employee turnover. One more classification of turnover can be desirable or undesirable turnover. The desirable turnover from company's side is when non-performing employee who is not good at work, and absenteeism is high, and maybe not qualified proper or not skilled worker, if that poor performer is leaving the company or resigning from company, or you can say company is terminating him, in that case it is a desirable turnover. But in case of undesirable turnover, suppose good employees, well performing, skilled, qualified employee is resigning from company, that is, you can say, undesirable turnover for the company. In case of desirable turnover, company is going to replace that poor performer with some new talent or good performer. That's why that is a desirable turnover. But in case some important employee, there may be chance that is qualified, well experienced, skilled, or uh, honest employee is resigning from company, that is undesirable turnover for the company. Disadvantage or demerits of the turnover. Turnover involves different kind of cost, and definitely, as the definition of turnover says, that employee is going to replace with a new employee. That means in case of turnover, cost is involved, both direct and indirect cost. Direct cost like replacement cost and the transition cost, and indirect cost means loss of production, reduced performance level, and unnecessary overtime and low morale of the employee. Person who has resigned from our company is going to replace by a new one. That means there will be some expenditure on the new recruitment and the advertising and conducting the interview, and again providing the training to the new joining. And during this period, or you can say this is transition period, during this period production is going to influenced, impacted. And suppose you compensate this period or this production loss with to you ask some other one for the overtime, or sometimes even this may have a wrong impact on others also. If people are resigning from your company, or your company is terminating employees, then there will be negative impact of this thing on others morale also. आपने एक वो देखा होगा कि कभी एक उसको स्लाइस को धक्का दिया, तो वो बहुत सारी जो है वो स्लाइस एक साथ जो है वो गिर जाती है। ऐसा कई बार ईंटों के साथ भी दिखाते हैं। या फिर आपने डोमिनोज गेम अगर आपने कभी प्ले किया है, तो वो जो प्लास्टिक की जो डिशेस होती हैं उनको आप ऐसे एक को प्रेस करो तो वो सारी की सारी गिरती जाती हैं। दैट मीन्स termination or resignation of one employee may have a negative impact on others also, and their productivity and their efficiency is also going to decrease. And importantly, suppose experienced worker resigned from the organization and less experienced new worker joined the position. In this case, definitely performance will decrease of employee and production will be also low. So companies with high turnover may struggle to compete all necessary or important daily daily routine also, because it is very difficult to replace employee, and it is very difficult to provide them the training, and it is also difficult for new employee to accommodate or to accustom with the न्यू कंपनी। जो भी नया आता है वो सारा कल्चर सीखेगा और उसको अपने को सब कुछ बताना पड़ेगा। तो अचानक से अगर कोई एम्प्लॉय रिजाइन कर देता है तो ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए काफ़ी मुश्किल हो जाता है। उसको आप कल्चर के बारे में बताओ, उसको आप ट्रेनिंग ओरिएंटेशन उनका ऑर्गेनाइज करवाओ, एंड उनको हायर करने में आपका पैसा लगा, उनको ट्रेन करने के अंदर कंपनी का पैसा लगेगा। तो बेसिकली टर्नओवर इज नॉट गुड फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। Yes, if that employee was not good performer, only in that case you can say that turnover is good. कोई एम्प्लॉय सपोज ठीक से काम नहीं करता था और आपने उसको निकाल दिया या वो रिजाइन दे के चला गया, इन दैट केस यू कैन से कि आप जो नया एम्प्लॉय लाए वो आप बेटर लाए और परफॉर्मेंस इम्प्रूव हो गई, बट हमेशा ऐसा नहीं होता। मोस्टली हायर टर्नओवर रेट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड गुड फॉर द कंपनी। Disadvantage of turnover are high comparative to benefits.